the myth of the abduction of the Sabine women. Imagine a young city, yearning for glory, built on promises and dreams, but faced with a challenge that threatens its very existence. It is the beginning of Rome, a nation as great in its history as in its myths, where reality and legend intertwine to shape a shared past. Through this story, we will explore a drama full of conflict, courage, and reconciliation. Dear time travelers and lovers of eternal stories, I am Messalina, and I have a little secret for you. The gods reward those who support their favorite storytellers. If this corner of myths, legends, and mysteries has sparked your curiosity, I invite you to follow my channel and activate the bell so you don't miss a single trip through time. And if you want this legacy to grow and continue exploring together the greatness of Rome and beyond, you can leave your offering on PayPal or Patreon. The links are in the description, because even the gods know that any help allows for the forging of eternal works. I promise you that if you do, the gods will bring you peace, prosperity, and perhaps a little touch of fate. Your gestures do not go unnoticed, and my gratitude will be as infinite as time itself. In the chaotic beginnings of Rome, when the foundations of what would become one of the world's greatest empires were being laid, a desperate decision would change the fate of two peoples. This myth, though dark, is not just a story of war and abduction. It is a story of unity born of pain, courage, and the strength of a woman facing the worst conflicts of her time. Rome, in its early days, was just a spark that promised future greatness. Founded by Romulus after the legendary dispute with his brother Remus, the city was beginning to host a heterogeneous group made up of shepherds, fugitives, and adventurers. However, one problem was becoming evident: the lack of women endangered its development. The neighboring peoples, particularly the Sabines, looked upon Rome with suspicion. This group, known for its organization and traditions, lived in the nearby hills. Reluctant to collaborate with the Romans, they rejected any attempt at a marriage alliance. It became clear to Romulus that negotiation would not suffice. If Rome was to survive, a drastic solution would be required. Romulus, shrewd and determined, devised a plan. He organized a great festival in honor of the god Consus, a feast open to all neighboring peoples. The announcement promised days of celebration, games, and parties, attracting the attention of the Sabines and other nearby groups. The city came alive. The spectacle seemed like a genuine invitation to share culture and tradition, with parades, banquets, and competitions. The Sabines came, trusting in Roman hospitality, bringing with them their wives and children. What they didn't know was that behind the smiles and music, the Romans hid a darker purpose. At the height of the festivities, Romulus gave the signal. Roman men burst into the midst of the celebration and abducted the Sabine women. Chaos erupted. What had begun as a celebration turned into a scene of grief and separation. The Sabine women, torn from their families, were forcibly taken into Roman homes. The act left the Sabines deeply wounded, enraged by the betrayal. It was a violation not only physical but also cultural, marking the beginning of a rivalry that seemed irreconcilable. But the real significance of this story lies not only in the abduction. It is what happens afterwards that makes this myth an unforgettable tale. In response to the abduction, the Sabines sought revenge. Led by their king Titus Tatius, they prepared to confront the Romans and recover their daughters, sisters, and wives. Both sides headed toward an inevitable showdown, each filled with anger and determination. The war was violent, with attacks devastating both Romans and Sabines. The two peoples seemed trapped in a cycle of hatred that offered no way out. Yet in this scene of despair, the very Sabine women who had been abducted rose up as figures of reconciliation. Becoming wives and mothers within Rome, but still daughters and sisters in spirit to the Sabines, these women decided to act. On the day of the final battle, the Sabine women stood between the two armies. In an act of extraordinary bravery, with tears in their eyes and resolute hearts, they pleaded for peace. If you are our husbands and they are our fathers and brothers, who shall we lose? Who among you will be the victim of the woman he loves, or the father who begot him? They cried. This gesture not only stopped the fight, but also forced both sides to re-evaluate their actions. Faced with the courage and humanity of the Sabine women, anger gave way to reflection. What seemed like an unredeemable tragedy ended in a union that would change both nations. The Sabines and the Romans decided to reconcile and form a unified community. Titus Tatius and Romulus reigned together, symbolizing peace between the two peoples. This integration not only ensured the growth of Rome, but also laid the foundation for a culture built on mixing and cooperation, despite the initial pain. The myth of the rape of the Sabine women is, in essence, a dramatic narrative that addresses universal themes: human conflict, reconciliation, and the ability to overcome adversity. The Sabine women, far from being mere victims, become agents of change, demonstrating that even in tragic situations there can be room for hope and courage. Throughout history, this myth has symbolized the importance of unity and the need to find common ground amidst division. It represents the founding of not only a city, but also a collective mindset that values peace and understanding. The story of the Sabine women has inspired countless artists and writers. From the striking paintings of Nicolas Poussin and Jacques-Louis David to its presence in historical texts, this myth has left an indelible mark on Western culture. Even beyond its Roman context, the story resonates as an eternal reminder that courage and empathy are powerful forces that can change the course of any conflict. Today, the myth of the abduction of the Sabine women allows us to reflect on our own societies. It reminds us of the price of conflict, but also of the power of finding solutions based on unity and reconciliation. In a world that is often divided, the lessons of this ancient myth continue to inspire. The Sabine women show us that even in the darkest of times, courage and humanity can pave the way to peace. The myth of the rape of the Sabine women is not just a relic of times past, it is a deeply human tale that continues to speak to our current reality. In its moments of pain and its resolution in unity, we find a mirror of the unbreakable capacity of human beings to heal and forge a future together. At every turn of this story, from the dark initial betrayals to the luminous final resolutions, we discover a myth that calls us to recognize the power of reconciliation and to value the importance of peace. This is the true lesson that the Sabine women left us, the possibility of transforming conflict into hope and leaving a legacy of courage and unity. Without a doubt, a story that deserves to be told, heard, and remembered.